talk is going to be, like, a lot of you have probably already heard about Apache Camel, and a lot of you maybe even used it, but have some of you even like used it on a low-code or even no-code version of it. And that's what Maria is going to tell you about in her talk about Kaoto, the low-code and no-code Apache Camel editor. So Maria, enjoy.
Thank you. Hi. As René was saying, I'm going to talk about a low-code and no-code editor for Apache Camel. And well, first, maybe a bit of an introduction. I have been working at Red Hat since 2019, and there I focused on the middleware integration team. And we use Apache Camel for that. And since 2021, I have been leading the Kaoto project with Rachel. And our aim with this was to try to make the life simpler for people who need to integrate or orchestrate different architectures and integrate different services. So the title of the talk is a bit big. It's Kaoto, the low-code and no-code editor for Apache Camel. And what I want to do is maybe break this into different small parts, because some of you may be already familiar with Apache Camel. If you are not, you should be. But maybe you have some questions about what Apache Camel is, what exactly is the definition of a low-code and no-code editor, and then finally, what is Kaoto. So I'm going to start by explaining a bit quick what Apache Camel is for those of you who don't know yet what it is. And then I will move on to what Kaoto is. First, what an integration framework is, or what how do you use Apache Camel? Well, most software architecture nowadays looks something like this. You have different services. They may be APIs, they may be data stores, they may be data warehouse, databases. Maybe you have some front end you're communicating, some third-party API. Maybe you have some message brokers in between, AMQ, Kafka, I don't know. But you have different services, and you have to connect each of them with some of the other services. And the idea is that how can you compose these services in a way that is decoupled, but at the same time is easy to maintain, and that doesn't add a lot of overhead to your architecture? Well, these little links between different services or different components is what we usually call the middleware, the glue between the components, the pieces of code that make sure that this API can connect to this other API. For example, if you have a web that sells something because it's a shop, you have maybe database with all the products, you have some paywall, third-party paywall to have the customers pay for those products, and you have to connect each of them. So you need some pieces of code that connect each of them. But how can you properly generate these pieces of code that they make the services talk to each other properly and easily and in a way that is easily to maintain? Well, that's what Apache Camel is for. You have it's an integration framework that provides this link in between components. So you have different components like ABC, whatever, can be APIs, it can be message brokers, it can be anything. And you have these orange parts that are Apache Camel. So Apache Camel is not only the arrow that knows how to move data or trigger events from one service to another, but it also contains these little pieces, these little boxes that are the dark orange, that they are the connectors that know how to interact with each different component. For example, if you are connecting to Salesforce, of course, Salesforce has an API, but that API evolves over time. So if you have some software that interacts with Salesforce and you need to connect it, for example, to some, I don't know, some shop that you have in some other service, some other, can be a WordPress shop or whatever, and you want to connect both of them, you need to know not only how to connect to the API, but also how that API works, understand the inners of that API and the model of the data, and a lot of things that with time you have to maintain. If Salesforce changed the API, if Shopify changed the API, if you need to understand how they are changing and maintaining it. And your software may have bugs that you have to maintain, and maybe some third-party libraries you have to update. So in the end, what would be interesting is an integration framework that understands how Salesforce works and offers you like a more stable and easier way of interacting with it. And you don't have to worry if Salesforce version changes, if their model changes. You don't have to worry about it because someone is preventing you from having to maintain that. And this is what Apache Camel does. Apache Camel has more than 350 different components. I think it's even more than 400 at this point. And it covers most of the potential use cases you will ever need. It connects to things that are very simple, like Telegram. You can do a Telegram bot without having to understand how the Telegram API works. Or you can connect to Salesforce, or you can connect to a Kafka or an MQ broker or RabbitMQ, or you can connect to different databases. You can connect to APIs. And all that is provided in a way that is easier for you to deploy and to implement. And Apache Camel also offers you something that is called the enterprise integration patterns. I'm not going to explain them. We still see the first slide. You shouldn't be seeing the first slide. I have been moving slides. Why? Wow. So you just missed all the I don't know why StreamYard is doing this. I don't know. Sorry. The slides are on the URL that you can see at the bottom, so you can follow that anyway. So these enterprise integration patterns are patterns that allow you to implement easily. You don't have to implement this, for example, if you need to do a round robin, or if you need to do some loop over elements, or if you don't need to write the code for that. Apache Camel contains that, so you can say, I want to round robin for this, or I want to, change transform the data from one format to another, and that Apache Camel handles it and knows how to do it. So if I change my slide, I have to click on StreamYard. I don't know why for you to change it. So sorry, I don't know why StreamYard is doing this. So for example, this is this is kind of what I was showing before, but it wasn't shown. That you have different components, and you have Apache Camel with which is the arrow that has the router moving the message or the events in between components, and then the dark orange boxes that are the components that know how to interact with different services. And Apache Camel is much more powerful than this, but I don't want to enter this because this is not an Apache Camel talk by itself. I want to show you the low-code, no-code editor Kaoto. So, for example, if you have something like this that is a workflow you need to implement, you have to read data from some CSV file, or I don't know, some external source, and then you want to loop or iterate over different rows, and maybe call some XML API, maybe trigger some database to get some information or to update something based on those rows, and then you want to process it and transform the data and finally aggregate it and store it into a database. Usually, you are here connecting to 4 different services and doing some processing and everything. And if you think about how to implement this, it will be a lot of lines of code, but if you do it with Apache Camel, it will be something like this. This workflow is represented by this in Apache Camel. So as I said, Apache Camel is very useful to compose different services because it allows you to simplify the way you are developing and the way you are maintaining the code. Because you can see, for example, if in the line 4, it's calling and reading from the source CSV file. But if you then later have to change this, and instead of a source CSV, you have to read it from, I want to read it from, I want to watch some events coming from Kafka or something like that and just iterate over them, you can just modify that line number 4 and change where the data is coming from. And then Apache Camel knows how to compose everything and redeploy everything just by changing this source of the data. So this is very simple. And you may say, well, if Apache Camel simplifies the way of implementing and developing things, why would I need a low-code, no-code editor? This is already low-code, right? Well, it is, but it's not, because you need to know this domain-specific language of Apache Camel to be able to implement and write this. So I'm going to talk now about what the low-code and no-code editor means for Apache Camel. So first, the no-code, when we talk about no-code, it's something like, you don't even need to know that Apache Camel exists. I want to provide a visual design interface with diagrams, you drag and drop, you move things around. And that is what generates the code. And you don't really even need to see the code at any point or know that there is an Apache Camel behind it doing it. So I want to be able to edit and implement a diagram, a workflow, without really understanding how the code is going to be implemented and deployed. Then you have the low-code version, in which you maybe might be climbing the learning curve, or maybe you are a developer more or less aware that Apache Camel exists, but you are not an expert, or you are in a hurry and you just want to say, okay, I know this is the workflow and I want to quickly create a skeleton, but I'm not really ready to go into what would be the full code mode, which is, I have an IDE, I just going to, I don't know, debug even complex stuff, and I want to, maybe I'm not using Salesforce, but I'm using some other alternative that is completely proprietary and from my company, and there is no Apache Camel connector, but I want to create an Apache Camel connector to be able to integrate it better or to offer it to my customers. So what Kaoto is going to focus is in the no-code, low-code, but it also comes in the form of a VS Code extension, so you can use it in the full code version. And finally, let's talk about Kaoto. So it's this is a snapshot of Kaoto. We are quickly evolving, so there may be new buttons already there. And as I said, you can drag and drop things, and you can have it as either installed in your cloud, so it interacts quickly with your cloud, or you can have it as a VS Code extension, or you can have it in your local machine, and it will not only allow you to draw, but also to deploy things in the cloud. And it supports different versions of Camel, like different DSLs of Camel. So Camel also offers you more simplified or more complex DSLs. Like if you want to use Camelot bindings or Camel roots, if you don't know what this is, don't worry. But this is what Kaoto supports. You can change from one to the other easily. And I'm going to show you a bit of the how this works. I want to show you, this is a VS Code. I just want to show you how, if you install the Camel language tools extension by Red Hat, you will get Kaoto, and then you can just say, okay, I'm going to start by something, dropping Knative, and it works here. But what I want to show you better is this URL that I can maybe post in the comments, allows you to test Kaoto. Here, the deployment is disabled because this is on a cluster, and we don't want anyone to just enter here and deploy things and waste resources. But you can test how the deployment works. You have different types of integrations you can create. For example, it's interesting, the camelets, because the camelets are like macro steps. So you can, in this catalog of steps, you can add your own steps for simplifying if you have recurrent macro steps. And then it's just you drag and drop, and then you can choose how it's going to, what it's going to do. This is a camellet binding. No, I want to do a camel root. So I can show you better for example, I can show you how you can add different choices and split and say if something happens, then you go into this branch. If not, you go into this other branch, and then you can add more things here. And then you can build and see the source code being built here on real time. And this is more or less how it works. I don't have much time, right? How long do we have? 10 minutes left. Okay. So I'm going to show you how this works, for example, with deployment. I have a Kafka here. I can start. I have a Kafka broker. And I have, I'm going to remove what I have been doing. So, for example, I can say I want to listen to a Kafka that I have here and log what I'm going to receive from a Kafka broker. This was demo cluster bootstrap 2019. The topic name was my topic, I think, what I configured here. Right, demo cluster Kafka bootstrap and my topic. I forgot the Kafka bootstrap. And then I can configure the log and say, okay, log level info, logger name info. And I can I can show you the source code. So this is Camel DSL. This is easily, when you know Camel, this is, you are not seeing what I'm showing you again, right? You're still seeing no, it's, oh, sorry. Yes, you see the browser. I don't know why it was showing me for a moment something else. So this is easily, you can edit this and say, okay, instead of this sync, I may want to use some other sync that I don't know if it's called like this. No, sorry, I need to see the, okay, so for example, instead of this Amazon CloudWatch, I can say, no, I want to sync the log, and you can either edit the source code or edit the graphic side. And if I deploy this and my local machine does not become crazy, no, because I didn't deploy it in the right namespace. I have to change the namespace. And if I deploy this, it's being deployed, and I can use the Camel tools to read the log. And it subscribed to a topic. If I now write something on the topic, I can see that it arrives at the other side of Kafka, and it also goes through Apache Camel. So I could do anything I wanted with this topic and maybe send it to somewhere to some API, some other Kafka, transform it to send it to some other broker, whatever I need. And as I said, Camel is very powerful, and it allows things like I want to, I don't know, for example, aggregate. The aggregate one is, it allows you to, when several messages arrive, you can aggregate them into one single message. Or you can, as I said, there's a lot of different connectors. you can, and all of them are here. And you can configure them just by clicking here, and you have the help that helps you to decide what you need to add to the configuration. And I think I'm running out of time. So I just want you to know that we are also working on the beans configuration, which is kind of advanced, but it also provides a nice visual way of adding beans. Beans may be something like, I want to add a database connection, a database configuration. And instead of having to configure it here in the source code manually, or having something more complex, you can add beans here, and it will allow you to, usually it's based on some, I don't remember how is the database configuration, but you can configure here different beans, and you can see here on the left side that the beans are being added. So everything is very visual. The idea is that you don't have to know about Apache Camel, so you can just start with the visual side, and when you are more familiar, or if you are already more familiar, you can jump to the source code and start doing things that I want to change things and I want to modify things. And then if you are very advanced, you can go to the Visual Studio Code and you can deploy things and you can debug and you can. And I really encourage you to try the URL I put there, because I think it's interesting, and we are eager to learn about your feedback and how you would use this so we can make the user experience better. And I think we can start the Q&A.
Yes, indeed. So Maria, thank you a lot. Very cool to see something like that. I really like these approaches to get people more and more into this technology, even though they might not be too familiar with that and not sure how to tackle that. And that's a good entry barrier to get started. But on top of that, a question would be like, how would you say, what's the best approach to get started? Are there like any tutorials or labs that kind of guide you how you could tackle all of that and kind of get started,
Yes, on Kaoto.io, we have not only a user documentation, but I like more the workshops, because it goes step by step explaining you how to, for example, create listen to a folder when some files are there. And it also helps you learn Apache Camel, but it's more like I challenge you to do this, and then I give you some hints, and then I give the solution with a video and step by step what you need to do. So I think it's a very easy way to learn how to use Kaoto and Apache Camel.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot. Another question was, how well does this support securing usernames and passwords, for example, for connections?
Well, we are working. We still don't have it yet in place, but we are working on providing some discovery of config maps and properties coming from OpenShift. So instead of having to write the username and password, which is something we don't want to do, or use some external property files. If you're in the cloud, maybe external property file is not the right way to do it, but just a config map or somewhere inside OpenShift or Kubernetes. And you should be able, we don't have it yet, but when you have, for example, here, you should have a drop down instead of a text. And if it had some, I don't know if I added something with authentication. Yes, sure. So here you will have a config map selector, not directly the text input.
Great. Perfect. Yeah, just saw that someone was asking for where the links are, but someone else linked the workshops from the Kaoto site as well. So
Ricardo is also a developer of Kaoto.
Perfect. Very good. All right, we have no more questions, and we are actually on time. Perfect. So again, Maria, thank you a lot. As always, for everything, like if you have another follow-up question, whatever, you can always reach out to us and always get in touch with us. We can follow up with that. We just had like organizational questions. Yes, this sessions will be recorded, so you can watch them later on. They're going to be on YouTube, actually. We have like a Red Hat developer channel there, and you will be able to to watch them afterwards as well. And the last thing is that we will have a break in like almost an hour. And on this main break, you can join the main channel, and there you can talk with all the red hatters and all the speakers and have a very nice exchange. So just for everyone. But for that, I would do a small break, and we will see us in like 4 minutes now, almost, and we will have the next topic covered then. See you then.